And now, let's take a closer look at our new age of higher education. Dr. Postal, it's great to be with you here at the University of Toledo. Thanks for having us.
We're happy to have you here.
Looking forward to a great conversation about some of the issues, the challenges that are facing public universities today, and maybe how we can solve some of those.
Anxious to talk about it.
Absolutely. So this campus has been here 150 years. You have approximately 17,000 in enrollment here at the university. What does it take in terms of that enrollment and keeping that going and being successful for 150 years?
Well, in some ways, the secret sauce is the same for any organization that is around for a long, long time, and that is that you have to continually reinvent yourself so that you remain relevant and appealing to students, faculty and staff, others who may want to come here to study or to work.
That's a great point, reinventing yourself and really making sure you are relevant. I know there are many, for example, here in the state of Ohio, public institutions, you have community colleges, all competing for funding and for enrollment. So really you have to stay on top of all of those competitive advantages and niches, I'm sure. So as we think about the next generation, something I'm curious about is, what does your research show in terms of potential students or prospective students and their checklist, if you will? What are they looking for now that maybe they weren't looking for 5-10 years ago in a public university?
Students are looking for an education that will lead to a job, right? And so not too many people go to college just for the sake of going to college. They're on a path to get somewhere. And so I think students like to hear about success stories. I think students like to understand that the things we're teaching are in sync with what's out there in terms of job opportunities and emerging areas.
What are some of the main reasons that you see as to why enrollment is dropping? And obviously it was dropping prior to the pandemic.
Well, it's complex. So part of it has to do with just the number of students coming out of high school. So there have been demographic shifts, and there will continue to be. Nationwide, people talk about an enrollment cliff, and what they're referring to is an age when there just weren't as many students graduating from high school, which is predicted to be 3 or 4 years from now, where there will be a further decline in the number of high school graduates. Some people are predicting that the enrollment cliff may be getting here a little sooner than what had been predicted, because we've seen the number of high school graduates drop. So that's one part of the equation. Another part of the equation, I think, is students are faced with a very wide array of options, and so getting a 4-year degree or more is just one of several valid ways to get additional education. So there are 2-year degrees, associate degrees, all kinds of trade schools and other programs. There are certificate programs, and a lot of jobs are available out there that simply don't require a 4-year education. It takes a lot of time, money, and commitment to go through 4 years of college, and it's not for everyone. So I think there's just a lot of competition among young, bright people, and we have to do a better and better job explaining the benefits and why it would make a difference for them to make this choice.
Absolutely. And also the whole gap year trend, if you will. Students coming out of high school and saying, I am going to take a year off and figure out what I want to do, and then maybe never coming back to higher education. Do you see a fair amount of that now?
There's a lot of that. So, back when I went to college, people graduated in 4 years. It wasn't even really discussed, unless there was some extraordinary circumstance, right? Nationwide, that's not the case anymore. And as a matter of fact, states and universities themselves don't even talk about 4-year graduation rates anymore. People talk only in terms of 6-year graduation rates.
I had no idea. That's the new measurement.
It's the new measurement tool. Everyone talks about 6-year graduation rates, and it's because so many students take gap years or work part-time and maybe take a slightly lower load of courses so that they're able to work and go to school at the same time. And that's fine, but it's a major shift. And so I think that a concept like a gap year is much more accepted than it was. I mean, back in the day when I went to school, if I had told my parents I was taking a gap year, they would have looked at me and laughed and asked what I was going to do, right? But now it's becoming more the norm.
What needs to happen to turn the corner on enrollment? You mentioned doing a better job of kind of marketing why this is important and what career tracks look like. What are some of the other things that we can be doing to really change and move that marker on enrollment?
So there are a lot of things we're working on. So in addition to just focusing on the high school graduates, since we've already said they're going to be fewer in number, we know that in and of itself would not be a winning strategy, right? So first of all, we're looking at adults in the community who have some college under their belt, but for one reason or another didn't finish, and reaching out to them and trying to find easy ways for them to come back and complete their degrees. That's one possibility. Other things we're doing is we have hired regional recruiters and placed them in other cities, some in Ohio, Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati, for example, but also outside of the state. So we have a recruiter now in Chicago, and we have a recruiter in Washington, D.C., and we're placing several others to try to get the brand of the University of Toledo to extend beyond Northwest Ohio. We also are working with agents in other countries who are familiar with high schools and preparatory academies in those countries where students may have an interest in coming to the U.S. to study, and there are many students like that. So we anticipate a growing international student population, particularly now that some of the travel restrictions are lightening up.
And to that point, how are the numbers internationally speaking? Are the international student numbers down low, sort of trending with the other numbers?
They dropped way down during COVID, predictably, and then this year are up. And for next year, we're suggesting that they might be quite a bit up.
Okay.
So we're excited about that. And as a matter of fact, we're having to look at the resources in our international center and areas where support is provided for students from other countries.
So did anything good come out of the pandemic for universities?
It's hard to imagine anything good coming from COVID because it was such a nightmare from a health perspective. I guess just learning to be resilient, learning to help and care about each other more, and learning new tools to allow us to pivot and still get work done.
Well, when you're on Business Life 360, guess what? We get to do quick hits and some rapid fire questions. Our viewers get to know you a little bit better in a casual kind of way in terms of our questioning. So are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do this. What is your favorite sport to watch?
Tennis.
Hobby of choice?
Playing the piano.
If you could see one band in person, or perhaps a singer live, who would it be? And it can be past or present.
Right now I like Imagine Dragons.
Very nice. Winter or summer?
Summer.
One word your coworkers would use to describe you.
Optimistic.
One word your kids would use to describe you.
They call me fun, which I'm happy about, given they're 12 years old.
That's a big moniker. I like the adjective there. One piece of advice for your students here on campus as they look ahead to careers in this challenging world.
Stick with it. Be persistent.
Dr. Greg Postal, thank you so much for your perspective, for your insight, and really for giving us a great inside look at public universities today.
I enjoyed it. Thanks.